Everything came out for violence. If you don't want to see it, spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Never seen it. Oh, that is yellow. Oh. Ooh. Ooh, very interesting. So, wait, let me turn this up. Hear that music? Very work in progress, but... So that's green. Seems like whiplash parkour. That's gonna be interesting. And this doesn't drag you anywhere. It just... You just hit it. You, like, stab it really quickly. And... it sets off some kind of mechanism. But it does the same thing as the other ones where it like kicks you up for a second. So as you see in a second, boom. Yeah, that gives you the chance to make it over. That's interesting. Real clever use. Real clever. Alright, well, let's look around the environment. There's nothing in the environment. Well, there's these bottomless pits for whatever reason. This reminds me of that level from Portal. Where you're having to go along that platform. And there's like fire below you or something. I think it's one of the later ones. And there's these weird geometric patterns as a barrier. In these weird hallways. And bottomless pit. I wonder what the purpose for all this is. Oh, I have to wonder what violence is, you know? I had it brought to my attention that because violence is inside the city of Dis, which it is, that would mean everything inside here would be a bit more civilized. Which that would make sense. But it's... Now, I'm not disputing that claim. I'm not saying, no, that's wrong. But I am saying, with this version of hell being the way it is, it might make it a little more difficult to rationalize that. In Dante's Inferno, the layers were concentric circles. So, like an onion, it has layers. And the further down you go, the deeper in, and technically the smaller they get. But one layer surrounds the other. And it does that from limbo, lust, gluttony, all the way down to treachery. This is unlike Ultra Kill, where the layers are not actual layers. They're more like dimensions. They're more like realms that can twist and warp amongst itself. And they're just their own little... I don't know if I were to say worlds, I don't know if I want to say dimensions or world. They're dimensions, yeah. But I don't want to say if they're like worlds or universes. But they're arranged in. I would assume they're arranged in this fourth dimensional fashion that can allow traversal between them in our three dimensions, but they exist in a whole nother realm unto itself. So there's no consistent travel between the layers. Like Akita said that the entrance to gluttony may merge with Minos' mouth 1 second and be nowhere near it the next. I'll explain this more in a future video, but Akita describes the layers of hell as more like realms of consciousness, you know, instead of like just actual layers, pits. So, now the city of Dis surrounds heresy. So Wrath is not a part of the city, but at the very end of the city, right before you get to heresy, there's the walls. That is the border of the city. That is the city. Heresy is inside the city. Wrath is not. So everything inside that is inside the city of Dis. Now, the reason why that's important, speaking about the city of Dis, the reason why it being the city of Dis is important is because heresy is a intentional act of sin. Now, I mentioned this before, where the layers before the city of Dis are just you have a bad personality, and I put up a guide to as examples. But for instance, with Limbo, you were cool, but you just didn't believe. With Lust, you may have indulged in your desires a little too much. With Gluttony, maybe you drank too much, etc. The borderline is Wrath, where you're kind of just an easily irritable person. Like maybe you're just always passive aggressive, or maybe you just blow up. Like maybe you just have a short fuse, you know, and you may yell and spit at other people's faces out of sheer emotional anger. That's Wrath. Heresy, the next rung down, that's when you start going out of your way to spread sin. So heresy is Epicurus, where he said the soul dies with the body. He didn't believe that there was an afterlife. He said there's no heaven, there's no hell, you just die. And that's what got him and his followers into heresy. In this case, violence. You intentionally, in real life, some people, once they blow a gasket, they maybe beat the person's head in. Maybe they punch them. They fall over, they hit their head, and then they die. I don't think Dante would consider that as wrath, like just irreconcilable, just pure rage. But he would consider that an act of violence, willful violence. And of course, there's just other more obvious cases of willful violence, like assassinations, working as a hitman, war makers. So Sundowner would definitely go to this layer of violence. Now, returning to Ultra Kill, violence. This seems to be This seems to be something like Gluttony in relation to Inferno. Inferno, Gluttony was God damn it, my air conditioner. Fuck. In Inferno, Gluttony was just this wasteland. It was the ground was mud. The whole place stunk. There was this noxious odor. There was cold rain and sleet. And the place was just frigid and horrible to walk around in. Sort of like Lust. But instead of winds blowing you around, it was just a cold, frigid, muddy environment. And you had Cerberus the dog running around and eating you up. But in Ultra Kill, Gluttony was turned into body horror. You know, you could see sinners' silhouettes in the wall, like Necrovol. You know, in Necrovol, when you look inside those cages and there's just people crammed in there, and they're all sent through these like torture areas just to extract all the pain out of these people. That's what Gluttony seems like to me in Ultra Kill. So violence here seems to be taking a similar step where it's not exact. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the exact opposite. Not a good place, but just something completely different from its interpretation in Inferno. Inferno has a pretty good description of what happens in violence. There's violence against people. And the last one is violence against God, art, and nature. I've already talked about this. Yeah, I remember talking about this. Why am I explaining it again? Anyway, yeah. So this does not seem like a lake of boiling blood. It does not seem like a forest with people, tree people, of grovers everywhere. And this does not seem like the desert with raining fire. You know? This just seems like a facsimile of, I dare say, heaven. Now, I'm very iffy on that. It may be completely different, and it may just be coincidence, but this appearance looks similar. It seems like it reuses textures from the Developer Museum. Now, it was brought to my attention at one point that the Developer Museum may actually be heaven, but that's a theory video for another day. But for now, this seems completely different. It may be a facsimile of heaven, maybe, and yes, it is not. I don't really mean facsimile, since the City of Dis is supposed to be like a wicked representation, like an inversion of it. You know, someone in the comments last time pointed it out, where it's not supposed to be like an imitation. It's supposed to be like their own version of heaven, you know? But it's hell, so it's like twisted and stuff. This sneak peek is more about showing off the new mechanic and not really much about the environment. But we did get a look at a new environment. This looks like a brand new level. I don't know if it's the third one. I don't know if we saw 7-1. I don't know if the rail one is 7-2, and if this is 7-3. I don't know. This may be something that comes after the rails, in the same level, you know. Since the rails, that doesn't have music. I don't know. It may be like 5-2, where it's silent at first, but then something happens that starts the music up, you know. But yeah, this mostly just shows off a cool new mechanic. There's a thing up there. Jamie, could you pull that up real quick? Could you pull... Oh, it's just a door and a checkpoint. Jamie, could you pull your cock out real quick? The music. Yeah, let me see the music. See the music. That sounds like the true lab. Such a good soundtrack. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Not exactly, of course. I mean, it's just... It has similar... Especially those, what the fuck do you call them? Waveforms? Those... Ew. Whatever the fuck those things are called. Yeah, it is a work in progress, though, so that'll likely be taken out for the full thing. So yeah. This concludes the analysis. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. Join my server. I have Patreon, too. Donate. Makes me happy. Join my server. I'm there all the time. And it's cool. So, yeah.